Hello friends, welcome back. SimPilot here. This is the 14th episode of the tutorial series and we are going to revisit the G1000 for a recap tutorial to answer some questions that are asked by multiple people. I went through the questions and the three questions that stands out is: how do you enter the route from start to the end with the in-between waypoints, not the start, seed and the approach? We will look into that. How do you change the route when you are up in the air, like adding a waypoint to your flight plan when you are already flying? We will look into that too. And how do you change the destination? Like, when you create a flight plan through SimBrief, you have an alternate airport. In case of any emergency, you skip your destination and go to that alternate airport for landing, and we will look into how we can program that. And as a side question, we will look into how we change the approach if you want to do a different runway or land to a different runway than what's given by SimBrief. So we will look into those. Without further ado, let's get started. We are parked at Oslo Airport. This is going to be the same flight plan that we used for the Cessna Citation CJ4, because we have already seen the waypoints, and that will be a good example to go through in this tutorial. So the aircraft is already powered on. Disclaimer here, I am using a modified G1000 unit, which adds a lot of functionality to the default one. And I will put the link to the description if you want to download and use the same mod. It works great. I love it so far. And let's just take a look at what has been changed with the modification to G1000. First off, your settings, when you change them, are saved. So when you come back to G1000 aircraft, the preferences are saved, so you don't need to enter them again. These are my usual settings: PFD, wind. These are not changed, but there is an option to disable the synthetic vision, which you see the runway and the ground over here, so you can turn that off. Synthetic terrain, when I click that off, as you see, you get something very basic, so you have the option to turn it off. You have the option to change the altitude altimeter units from inches to hectopascals if you want to. Especially handy when you are flying over Europe and METAR. If you are used to the METAR data like me and don't bother with ATC, sometimes this is handy to have the correct units so that you don't need to convert them using Google or any other converter. Okay, and the other thing is, over here under the menu, now you have the display brightness for PFD and MFD, and you can increase or decrease the brightness with the other knob. Although in Cessna you can also do the same thing with this avionics brightness switch, but some aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't have that, so it gives you the option to change it. On the other hand, the PFD side, MFD side, I'm sorry, we have an engine page which is not built for the Cessna. They have one that's built for Beechcraft Bonanza G36, which has an engine pages like showing the electrical system on a separate page, and the cylinder heads and the temperature and how you should lean the engine, but that's not modeled, or we don't have an engine page for Cessna 172, but I'm not worried about that. Declutter is working the same way. Map page now has the track up option. Usually in G1000, the default ones in Microsoft Flight Simulator has only option that is north up, and I think that's given there on the PFD. It says north up when I get close. You see there, north up. And let me do this if I can get rid of this and declutter this. This will be great, but no. Okay. So when you press track up, then it will track your position, and the aircraft's heading will be always the up. I like to have this option so that I know where I am going, and it's easy for me to look and understand. These options are not changed. The weather radar is pretty nasty right now in Norway. It's rainy. You have seen from the outside view. And when you go to here, those options are not changed, so you can go to waypoint, auxiliary, and the nearest pages, which we will take a look when we go through the tutorial. Okay, so let's stay here, don't worry about those, and let's start planning our flight. So let's do that. Let me zoom in a little bit more so that we see it better. So you probably remember how to do this, but this is going to be a repeat of how to enter a flight plan from start to the end. And I will put the flight plan routing information on the screen up here so that we see it together. So press on the knob and then rotate to enter our departure airport, which is Echo November Golf and Mike. There we go. Gardermoen, Oslo. Hit enter. So now, if you remember from the CJ4 tutorial, and it's also up there on the screen, our next point is AdLab. So that's A, Alpha, Tango, Lima, Alpha, and then Papa. There you go. And then from there it was Mod, India, Papa. It's taking time to do this in the unit, so it's, and then Mike. It's not easy in G1000. I prefer G3000 just for that ease of entry. Oscar, where is it? Yes, Mod. Enter. And then the last waypoint was Alvos, uniform. And Lima. It's taking a little bit time, sorry about that. Victor. Oscar. And Sierra. So these are the waypoints. So when you enter these, if I close the flight plan menu and zoom out a little bit, you'll see this is our waypoints, but we haven't entered the destination yet. Let's go and do it. So our destination will be Echo, November, Hotel, Delta, Karmøy, Haugesund. So now this is our routing completed. So after entering all the waypoints, this is what you need to do first before selecting your procedures like departure and arrival. So our departure, let's select the departure procedure. If you remember from the tutorial, Cessna citation episode, it was ATLA 5 Alpha. So we will select that one, and we see the sequence here, and the runway 01 left is the departure runway. So press one time and then load this, and now we should have our SID programmed into the FMS, taking us to our transition point, which is ATLAB. From there we can select our arrival, and if you remember again, and it's up there too, our arrival was, if I can scroll, ULO 1 uniform. I think it was this one. Yeah, I'll just check it later. Enter that, and then let's load it. So now our arrival, our star, is also programmed, and I can go there and zoom in to check if I want to. Let's bring it over, zoom in a little bit, bring it over. Oops. I think I did something wrong there. Zoomed out or zoomed in too much. Yeah. So let's bring it to the middle of the screen so that when we zoom in, it zooms in there. So as you see, from ULWOS HD 461 and then azimuth to the runway. And azimuth is our initial approach fix, if you remember from the last tutorial. So then let's go and select our approach. Enter. We are going to do an RNAV 13Z. Enter. And transition is azimuth. This is the routing information, and if you remember, azimuth, BAUSA, ABMAR, and runway 13. So it looks right to me. When we enter that, and if we zoom more, see azimuth, BAUSA, ABMAR, and then the runway. So our flight plan is complete now, except one thing, which really doesn't work in Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment. And you will see, probably guess what I'm going to say. It is the vertical profile that we are missing at the moment. If we had a working VNAV, after programming this altitude, the aircraft should try to climb to that altitude and then descend automatically when VNAV is engaged. But right now we can use vertical speed or flight level change modes, but VNAV is not quite working. I am hoping to see it working in a future update, but let's just put the altitudes in there just for fun. So we are traveling a little bit north and then west. So when you are traveling westerly, you have to select an E1000. So I'm going to aim for 4000. Enter that one. Go one level down, and let's enter 4000 to here too. And just because we are in a Cessna, it is going to be very easy to descend from 4000 feet, but if we were using a different aircraft, it will be a little bit hard to descend. I'm going to plug 4000 to ATLAB 2 because that's a lot of way. It's 24 nautical miles away, and Cessna can climb to 4000 before that. And if you want, you can just enter more, because it's putting 671 feet automatically to your vertical profile, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to be correct. So GM614 is here, and I'm assuming we can be at 2000 feet there. So this is just guesswork. I'm not just knowing what that vertical profile looks like. Although, if you remember the SimBrief tutorial, you can look into that over here. So when you go down there to the legs, see GM436, our flight level is 3.6, but this is giving us a higher altitude than 4,000, and that's why. And you can check the altitude up here, so it's giving us 4,000. Okay, so it thinks we can be at 3,600 by here, and then not sure why it's giving us, yeah, I am sorry, this is the flight level, 2,400, 3,100 at GM to 437. So let's take a look and try to enter those two. Not necessary, just playing with it. So it says over here, I think it was 24, am I correct? 36, 24, and then 31. So enter, go, GM 439, it says 4,000. So even here we can reach 4,000 per sim brief and what it thinks. So I'll take that and change this to 4,000 if I can. Come here. I hope I haven't deleted anything. Oh, did I delete something? Something happened. Okay, no. I just wanted to come there. Yeah. And then make that a 4,000. And I'm going to see if I have anything missing. No, everything is fine. Okay, we haven't missed anything. And I mean, if you want to go further, you can just look and plan for 2,400 at the first one, which is 36, I believe. Yeah, which we already did for 37. It was, yeah. So this is 24. That was my mistake. Oh, come on. This is what I don't like about G1000. Entering a single piece of information takes a huge amount of time. So this was what, 31? Yeah, and I'll leave it like that. So if we had a working VNAV, the aircraft should follow this profile and get us to 4,000. And you can also plan your descent too, based on this information on SimBrief. That top number is your flight level. Okay, so our plane is in place, and now it is time to take off and see how we can change this flight plan while we are up in the air. So I will take off, and I will set us for 4,000 and set the altimeter. And I will meet you when we are climbing, or maybe when we are at 4,000 after our departure, when we are en route. And before I cut the video to bring you guys back, remember, when you enter your waypoints and select your procedures, as you see, it enters the procedures in between. So, and it differentiates between your SID and then your en route waypoints, which is these two, Mod and Always, and then it programs your arrival, and then finally your approach. So the approach, I think we don't have any altitude selected, but we will look at the chart to see what those look like when we are up in the air. So I will see you when we are cruising. Welcome back, friends. So I had to change the weather to clear skies because it was very nasty, and I just didn't want to do it while the aircraft was jumping around. So, question: how do we enter an additional waypoint into our flight plan when we are up in the air? So let's take a look at the map. So we are here right now and traveling towards AtLab, which is our transition. So let's say from here I want to go to Adobe, and then from Adobe to Mod. or Adobe to Tibno to IPMod, let's say. So I need to enter 2 more. So to do that, we have to go to the flight plan. Hopefully I don't screw this up. So we are here. So if I want to enter a waypoint, I need to come and it will insert before this if I enter it here. So let's try this from AtLab to Adobe. So if I go and enter Alpha, Delta, Oscar, Papa. Oh, it does this. My screen freezes. Hopefully it will not crash to the desktop. Sorry about that. It will come back in a second. I'm not sure why this is happening, but it's happening. Come on. Come on, simulator. There we go. And there we go. When I hit enter, as you see, before IPMod, it added Adobe. And if I check the flight plan now, by zooming out, as you see, now from AtLab, instead of IPMod, we are going to Adobe. And from Adobe, what was the other one? Let's say I want to go to Adobe and track that to Tibno. So let's try that one more time. That is going to be Tango. And India. Bravo. November. And Oscar. And when I enter this, now you see we are going from Adobe to Tibno and then back to IPMod. So this is how you enter in between waypoints. You need to come to the waypoint you want to enter it before, because it doesn't do after. I tried so many times. So before IPMod I want to go to these 2 waypoints, and that's how you enter. And you can also put the altitude, and if we had a working VNav, it should also follow that vertical profile and, you know, climb or descend to the altitude you selected there. But we are not changing that, so, and you don't need to enter this part. This is just me overkilling it. So this is how you enter waypoints in between. The other question was, how do I change my approach? So if I go to procedures, approach, let's say instead of a runway RNAV 13 approach, I want to do something different. Let's say I want to do an RNAV 31. Enter that, and then load it, and you will see it will change our flight plan. So if I zoom out and come to there, maybe we should be able to see it now, because our approach is changed now. As you see, now we are doing a completely different approach, and you can also see that on the flight plan too. Like if we go down to, so arrival is already changed, and it also changes your arrival when you select a different approach. So that's how you change your approach on the fly. So if I want to go back to whatever I selected, which was RNAV Z13, enter, and if I load this, it will put us back to where we were before. So now as you see, it loaded one more time, and if I go up there and zoom the map, you'll see we are back to whatever we selected before. So IP mod, and then you should see ASMID as the transition. Oh god, this is too hard to move this map around. But you see, we are back to our initial approach, which we have selected on the ground. So that's how you change your approach. Next question is, how do I change my destination? Like if I want to travel to a different airport than my initial destination, how do I do this? So that's not uncommon in real life, that the ATC directs you to a different airport if there's something wrong in the current one, or the weather conditions are not good enough to land to that airport, etc. So how you do this while you are up in the air? So to do that, we need to first remove the initial the arrival, our destination. So go to the flight plan, and let me zoom a little bit more. So press on the knob, go down to our destination, which is Echo November Hotel Delta, and press the clear button. Be very careful here. If the cursor is not blinking and if you press clear, it will delete your entire flight plan. So when I hit clear, our destination is, as you see, gone, and we are left with the initial waypoints. So according to SimBrief, from Ulvos we need to go to Gamvu, and then Gamvu 1 November to runway 17. So let's try that one. So go up there. So that's going to be Golf, Echo, November, Victor, and Uniform. Oh, there we go. Enter. So now if I zoom in, that is that waypoint right there, and our destination is this one, Echo November Bravo Uniform. So let's plug that in. Echo November Bravo and Romeo. Okay, so now if I remove the cursor, now we have a different flight plan that direct us to a different airport. Now I need to select the appropriate procedures, which is my arrival first. That is going to be Gamvu 1 November, so which is this guy over here at the bottom. Enter and load this one. Now you see we have additional waypoints. Now I can select my approach, which is going to be runway 17, and I have an ILS option, and so you see W next to it because there is another approach coming into the same runway, and that's how you differentiate. And I have an RNAV for 17, so let's just do that and then load this, and there you have it, guys. Now you have a complete different flight plan that takes you to a different airport, or if you want to add routes. And by the way, I cleared the other two before recording this part. Remember, we traveled to a different waypoint from here, so I removed those before recording here. But there you have it. You have a different approach right now into a different airport. So this is how you change your flight plan while you're on the fly. For some reason I went out of nav mode, but that's okay. I wasn't worried about the navigation, I was worried about showing the procedure and how it's changed to you guys. So that's completely fine, and the aircraft will probably find its way back to the GPS location, which it is now, and we weren't too far away, so that's cool. I think that happened because I removed the other two waypoints, and when you remove a waypoint and when it's the active leg, I think it drops the nav mode, so be careful about that too. But this is how you change your flight plan while you are up in the air, or even change your destination. So remember, to change the destination you need to make the cursor blinking, and then you need to delete your destination airport first, so that it deletes the arrival and the approach, and then it leaves you the waypoints outside of that you can pick a different airport as your destination, and an arrival and an approach. And this is usually how it's done in the real world. As I said, the pilot has no way of knowing how the weather will look like, which runways will be in use, so they usually plug in the destination but don't select the approach and arrival until they got instructions from ATC saying you know, clear to runway blah blah blah, approach via blah 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 transition. So you follow that and you plug that in there, and they usually give you the star, like descent via, let's say this one, right? Descent via Ulva 1 November, arrival. So that's how you get the instructions from ATC. But this is just answering a couple questions about G1000 and also showcasing this mod that I really like a lot, to have additional options. And I forgot to show you this. That ring over there is basically your depends on the weather, that's where your aircraft is heading at the moment, so it shifts around when you turn and move, so on and so forth. So the link to the mod will be in the description if you are interested in this G1000 mod and want to use it. Also, I want to remind you guys the Discord server. If you have questions, it's much more easier for me to answer them in Discord, so join me in Discord if you have any questions. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. And if you stumbled up on this video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications to get notified for the future episodes. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.